What's going on, guys? It's your Route 1 Encounter, Yubari Eradicate, back again for episode 2 of Yubari's Design Decks. And today we're talking about the Gen 1 Fire-type starters, the Pokemon so brilliantly designed. They have been in everything you've ever known. I'm talking, of course, about the Charizard line. Everyone's favorite line that nobody has any problems with, nobody has ever complained about. And that I don't think Japan even really remembers they exist. They're a little lesser known, these guys. So I think it's important that I make a video talking about how incredible their designs are, so that people remember these lesser known Pokemon. So starting off with Charmander, right in that little, this is my so basically, if you missed the Bulbasaur video, go back and watch the Bulbasaur video. I mean, what are you doing? Starting on number 3, 4, and 5, 3, 4, 5, and I don't know how to do math. What are these? We're on 4, 5, and 6, right? What are you doing starting on 4, 5, and 6, you crazy son of a bitch? Go back and watch 1, 2, and 3. What's wrong with you? Mario. But I mentioned it in that first video, but since this is only the second video, I'll mention it again. This is a drawing series where I, a fool, am going to take every single Pokemon in the Pokedex, and I'm going to do a sketch from memory of the Pokemon, and then see how that goes, and then follow up by drawing a from reference version of the Pokemon that is likely to be a little more accurate. But it's partially just to see, how well can I remember these Pokemon that I think I know really well, while we go through the trouble of talking about what makes them great, what makes them Pokemon. And I guess I'd really like to debunk what exactly about Charizard's line blows people away, but I don't know if I have that information for you today. I know that's the kind of information I should have probably come up with before recording this, but I mean, it's the kind of thing where it just kind of happened, I think. It's kind of like Darth Vader a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to compare Charizard to Darth Vader now. So, Darth Vader as a visual design kind of sucks, honestly. When you really look at all the pieces of him, he kind of looks like a big dork. But it's just that, it's pop culture made him as popular as he is, more so than him. Imagine if a movie came out now and that was the villain. And just be like, all right, weird dickhead and weird, buttons on his chest. Looks like a fucking vending machine. That's Charizard. Charizard is a vending machine. But, yeah, so that's the goal. I'm going to talk about their designs and then sort of my history with the Pokemon and what I like about them, what I don't like about them. This drawing of Charizard I'm doing right here is kind of hilarious. I forget exactly. This was a little while ago that I actually did this. I meant to do this series weekly, and then it ended up being monthly so far. So it's been a little bit since I did these sketches originally. But I was trying to do a cool side pose thing for Charizard. I don't know. The problem with these the preliminary sketches, the from memory sketches, is that it's tough to find poses that are interesting and look good, and poses that also allow you to see the entire Pokemon's design. Because like you saw originally when I was drawing Charmander there, he had his back turned, and other than his shoulders looking kind of weird and slanted and sassy, other than him kind of standing like Riker a little bit, I liked the backwards pose with his tail kind of curved in front. I thought it was a good motion for his body. But the problem is that you can't see any of his the front of him, the important shit on him. Because if I draw a Turtonator from behind, that's one thing. That's Turtonator. It's his whole deal is he's supposed to be facing you from behind, or Mawile, But yeah, for Charmander, it's I kind of had to go with a boring pose because I just needed to show that I remember what his face and his arms and everything look like. And then, yeah, I got kind of stuck with Charizard a little bit because I was like, man, Charizard has 3 poses that you ever see ever. So this one that I did here is actually, I was thinking of his Fire Punch animation from Pokken, and how I really like that, where he winds up and then fucking flies at you. And that was kind of basically all I had going on there, because I didn't want to just draw his default standing with his arms up, breathing fire to the side, like he's been doing that pose for the past 200 years. And then I skipped over me coloring them, but I did colors this time, so you can see like, and those colors were from memory. I didn't use the art to like eyedropper tool those colors. So this is the middle ground I found between sketching them and doing like full drawings. So this way you can tell, like, I still do remember, this is what their colors look like. But I don't know why I'm turning this into like a challenge for myself, or like I have to prove to you guys that I know. No, it's not that, but it's it's part of it is how memorable these designs are in general, which I think is also kind of not fair, because the further you go into the generations, the less time we've had to spend with those Pokemon, and so maybe the less we've seen of those Pokemon and the less we remember them. But especially for Gen 1 Pokemon, I'm sure you'll all believe me if I tell you I remember what color Drowsy is, that kind of thing. But I think it's just kind of like, it's an extra layer of the from memory drawing that I wanted to get in there a little bit. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. It's not going to look like amazing. It's not going to be like a commission that I would do. But, it's something just for show. But then getting into the from memory sketches here, again, it was tough sketching Charmander. I kind of went for, in the Pokemon Adventures manga, there's a shot where he's like jumping out of a Pokeball and he's kind of like flying towards the camera out of the Pokeball or whatever. And I was kind of going for that a little bit, and kind of just like a little goofy hop or something. I couldn't get his hand the right size either. But Charmander's pose here, and you'll see it as it finishes up, but it's not like the greatest pose in the world, but I mean, you can tell what's going on with him. You can see all of him, so I guess it's fine. Charmander is kind of weird because he's one of those Pokemon that has an inconsistent amount of fingers, where in the original sketch so these Pokemon were designed, I'm trying to keep up with my information on how they were designed and who designed them, but it's a little tricky because the information is kind of like, I'm getting mixed like answers when I'm searching for these things, or I'm getting no answers. But to my knowledge, the entire Charizard line was designed by our good friend Atsuko Nishida, who designed Bulbasaur and Ivysaur. Apparently, I think it was that Sugimori actually designed Venusaur, possibly? I forget. That was the one that I really couldn't figure those ones out, but I believe Nishida did all three of these ones. She designed backwards like she did for Bulbasaur and Ivysaur, where she went from Charizard to Charmeleon to Charmander. And the idea was supposed to be that when you would get to Charizardon, that it was supposed to be like a big surprise coming from this little lizard baby into like a fucking crazy dragon guy. So that was kind of the idea behind it. But Nishida, the other way that these were done were, I think they did sprites first originally, and then Sugimori took the sprites and drew finalized design, like the portrait art based on the sprites he was given, which I think might be why Venusaur looks so fucked up in Gen 1, because his green sprite is like a nightmare. And if those sprites were made before they were finalized, then that would make a lot of sense why Sugimori would look at it and go, what the fuck is this? And like try to piece it together, But the original sprite that Nishida made for Charmander had 4 fingers, I believe, or 3 fingers. Nishida's sprite had 3 fingers, and Sugimori's final art had 4 fingers. And I believe that between the actual game and the spin-offs and like the TCG and stuff, I think to this day Charmander still has inconsistent fingers, where some people draw him or model him with 3 fingers, some of them draw and model with 4. So I couldn't tell you. I think I like 4-finger Charmander a little better, because him having thumbs and being able to hold things is nice for him. And, I care about him. I want him to be able to hold, berries and stuff. I think that's important. But, yeah, it's bizarre. Other than that, I mean, there isn't a whole lot to say about Charmander. He's a little lizard, and that's pretty much it. Like I mentioned before, the idea behind the starters of the original Pokemon game was creatures that you might find when you're out and about as a child, hunting for bugs and lizards and frogs around like, ponds and shit. And so as far as being like a little lizard salamander that you would find around, while also simultaneously being the fire elemental, like, mythological creature salamander. I think Charmander, he does what he's got to do. He is a lizard, and nobody can say that he's not. So good on him. His eyes are his eyes look so happy in that artwork. I love them. In the Sugimori's, like, current artwork for Charmander, he looks so happy. Such a great little guy. I guess I could talk about my experience with Charmander a little bit as we wait to get onto Charmeleon. But Charmander, I never really picked any of the... I never picked fire starters in the games. And I don't think I've ever done a first playthrough with a fire starter. I had never picked Charmander until we got like a second copy, because we only ever bought like one copy of each Pokemon game per generation, Like, my brother would get one and I would get the other. And so, what was it? I don't even remember what he had. I don't think he had red. I think he played yellow. He played like my mom's yellow or something. But, so I had blue, and then we ended up with an extra copy of red at some point. And I got that one going, and I started with Charmander, but I basically only did it so that I could transfer Charizard to Pokemon Silver that I was playing at the time. So I don't really have a history with Charmander all that much. I've used Charizard before, like in Gen 6 Showdown, singles meta. I used a Mega Charizard Y a little bit, but yeah, I didn't spend much time with the little guy. And then Silva has I guess she names her Charmander Jazz. That's just her name for him. So now in Let's Go, if you watch any of the Let's Go playthrough, we have our Charizard named Jazz that I'm still using now. I actually just loaded up Let's Go today, and I use Jazz to fly around because they added in Let's Go they had the secondary, like the upper plane, like the upper tier where the flying type Pokemon hang out. And I'm always up there because I'm always nervous that shinies are going to spawn above me. And I don't really like that feeling, so that's why I spend most of my time shiny hunting in Viridian Forest. But that's all besides the point. The point being, yeah, I never picked Charizard. And the thing was just that, like, I just liked Blastoise like so much more than the other two that, like, I never even gave it a second thought as a kid. But yeah, I mean, he's cool. He's great in the anime. We rewatched Kanto recently, and like the transition from Charmander to Charmeleon was really strange because Charmander obviously left behind by dickbag Damien, who's like, "Oh, this fucking Charmander can't even fight. He can't. He gets his shit all slapped up by water types. He do." And then like, he leaves him behind, and Ash finds him and everything. You know how it goes. And then Charmander he's baby. He's the definition of baby. Him and Squirtle, they are baby. And but then like the second he turns into Charmeleon, he's like, "Fuck you, Dad. None of your business what my tail smells like." And he's just not having it anymore. It's really weird how like evolution can change a Pokemon's personality so drastically. I guess it's worth mentioning also, and I guess I should throw up a picture that in the Pokemon Adventures manga, this is one of those things where I don't have a ton of information on. I kind of just saw pictures of it because I haven't read. I started reading the manga a while back, but I didn't get very far in it. I always thought it was really cool that Red just had a Poliwrath, like a Poliwhirl into a Poliwrath for the first beginning of the series. I'm like, that's really cool. I think more games could use to start off with like your character having like a weird Pokemon, you know? Like one of my favorite things about Colosseum was that your main trainer was an edgelord who had an Umbreon and an Espeon at this, like, as his starting Pokemon, and he just like forced everyone to do double battles, like, because you come across trainers on the road and they force you to do double battles, but your trainer was the double battle man, and he had an Umbreon and an Espeon, and like that's fucking cool. And I think if there was a game where like I know somebody did a ROM hack of Red where you played through and it was like adventures where you started with a polyroll, and that I think that was really cool. I'd like to see more of that in the future. But I know nobody else would like to see that, but I would like to see that. If people are gonna complain about having story-driven Pokemon games, I think your main character needs to be a character, so that there's some kind of like agency involved. Might be nice. I don't know. I mean, who am I? I mean, I don't make video games. What do I know? You know. But yeah. So anyway, in the manga early on, apparently Green had a Charmander, and that thing was like horrific looking. Like it was a little. It kind of looked like Gon from Tekken a little bit. But I'll throw up a picture if I can find it again. But he was horrible. It's a little Agumon Gon looking kind of guy. Another thing about Charmander is that he had a little spike on his back, which I think was supposed to sort of inform his evolution into Charmeleon and Charizard. But I think that was only in... it was in one of the early Sugimori arts, but I know it was in a lot of the Pokemon Adventures art. He had just a little bumpy spike on his back. I don't know why they decided to get rid of it. I always thought it was kind of cute looking. But yeah, he used to have that. I was going to say something else. What the fuck was I going to talk about? So yeah, this pose was like whatever. You know, it showed off what I needed to show off with him. He's got big, beautiful blue eyes. He's a little stummy little baby, little noodly boy. And he's got one other thing about him. I'm remembering things slowly as I go along. Some of the art of him has little thumbnails where he's got like 3 normal fingers and then his thumb is like a little dragon claw. And I always think that's weird too. There's a couple Pokemon, like when I get to Slowking, I'll mention it again, but Slowking has one gigantic fingernail toe. And it's weird. It's one of those ones where a lot of these Pokemon you don't think about stuff like that until you look at them, but then it's like, what is up with that? Like Charmeleon's, his like little head spike is actually almost kind of a little crest. You can see that second bump I drew above his eyebrow. That you can see it on his art too. It's like his horn starts from like right between his eyebrows and then goes up at like a weird checkmark kind of angle along his head. I think Charmeleon's really cool. I don't know if like his neck is too long or something, but something about his neck is kind of weird. But other than that, I think Charmeleon's a really underappreciated Pokemon in terms of like, especially the middle evolutions. Because I mentioned before how I think Ivysaur is my favorite of the Bulbasaur line. I think Charmeleon might be my favorite of the Charmander line, which is weird because he was always one that I didn't appreciate. I never gave Charmeleon the time of day, but I'm at the point now where like I want Charmeleon to be in stuff. Like in Pokken, get Charizard out of there, put Charmeleon in. You know what I mean? But yeah, Charmeleon, like I said before, super aggro. Like, you know, the second he was no longer baby, he decided that he wanted power, and no more true than in the Pokemon I Choose You movie. I got spoilers for I Choose You if you haven't seen it. It's on Netflix. Go watch it real quick and come back to this video. It's a good movie. It is a fucking sad movie, dude. That movie hit me and Silva watch it. It hit us really, really. That one's rough. And one of the rough things that happens in it is that you know, they redo, because it's kind of a redo of the first Pokemon episode a little bit, and they redo the Charmander being left behind by its trainer. But its trainer is some like edgelord named Cross, and he's got an Incineroar. And somehow he trained an Incineroar all the way up from a Litten, but he doesn't believe in the strength of his Charmander. And he's like, why should I bother with that weak Pokemon? It's too weak to... It gets its shit slapped up by water types. Whatever, you know. Bad trainer stuff. And so he leaves it behind and Ash finds it. He's like, that's terrible! I can't believe it! And then they have a battle where he fights Cross with the Charmeleon once it's evolved. And the Charmeleon like gives it its best, but it loses ultimately because it's fighting an Incineroar. And Ash is like possessed by Marshadow or something. And they're fucking... So Charmeleon loses because he's like, yeah, I got to fight with Charmeleon because that's personal business, whatever. He's got to go. And then they lose the fight, and then Ash is like getting all emotional, like he's getting all emotionally distorted from Marshadow or whatever. And he turns away from his whatever his companions' names were. I forget those two. They were fine, but I forget them. But he turns away from them, and he's like, Pikachu would have won that battle. And they're like, Ash, what the fuck? Like, what if Charmeleon had heard you say that shit? That's awful. He's like, whatever. And then he turns into a bad trainer for a little bit. That was sad. Because, Charmeleon did his best. He was fighting a fully evolved, like, Alola Pokemon. The thing learns Outrage. One thing I like about Charmeleon's design is that... and it's actually kind of in his moveset a little bit. It's that kind of thing where... a Pokemon learning certain moves, I feel like, can really affect sort of their theming and their... I don't know how to explain it. I just think that it's cool that he learns Dragon Rage or Dragon Breath, whatever. He learns some kind of Dragon Breath or Dragon Rage. And I think that is... I feel like that was to, again, inform his evolution into Charizard eventually. Because he's not a dragon type, and he doesn't become a dragon type, but visually he's a dragon. But Charmeleon, he's the kind of Pokemon that I feel like he could have been a dragon type, and I would have been cool with it. Like, I almost wish he was, honestly. Because he just, like, there's just something about him where, like, yeah, he feels like a little punchy dragon. He's actually kind of, now that I'm looking at him, he kind of reminds me of Komodo a little bit. It's got, like, a really similar body type to Komodo. And his snout and everything. I love his little snout, though. It's cute as fuck. This particular one, as far as poses go, I'm a lot happier with this one. I think I might have drawn his feet a little too big, but I was trying to emphasize his big-ass hands, because that's my favorite thing about him, I believe. Because, yeah, Pokemon has really brought out this feeling in me that I really like dragons that punch things. I think punch dragons are, like, an underrated theme for dragons. Kids outside my apartment are going fucking mental. But yeah, there's a lot of great things about Charmeleon and about all the starter middle evolutions for first gen that I hope people can appreciate more in the future. I think the problem really is just that because there's Little Cup you can play on Showdown or whatever, where you play with the baby evolutions, and then there's their final evolutions get tiered however they are, but there's never a reason to use the middle evolutions because they're not the babies. They're not, you can't pit them against other baby Pokemon because they're too strong. Like Charmeleon stomps on what's his name, like Weedle or Metapod or whoever, but Charmeleon doesn't touch anybody stronger than those. So I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just saying that, like, the time you spend with the middle evolutions is so short. I think that's why a lot of people don't even really look at them all that much, because they're just like, it's there, and then you're like, I gotta get to let me just get to the last one. Just give me my Charmander, or give me my Charizard. I did notice that they actually have different tail flames. That was one of the things I didn't notice until I looked at this artwork, and I don't know if that's just Sugimori's artwork. I don't know if that's consistent other places, but Charmander's tail flame is kind of like poofy a little bit, I'd say. It's kind of like a little more rounded and like kind of just standard like cartoon fire kind of looking a little bit. Whereas Charmeleon's is, and you'll see it when I scroll up eventually, but Charmeleon's tail flame is like spiky fire because he's super pissed. He's a tough guy. And then Charizard's is pretty much just Charmander's, but like bigger for the most part. I do think it's weird that they go from Charmander being, like light orange, citrusy orange, to Charmeleon being almost red, to Charizard being light orange again. I think that's one of those things where Charizard could have just been red. But again, I don't make video games, so I don't, when I was drawing him, I originally forgot to draw his tongue in, so that's why you see me improvising right here. Slap a little, just put a good little tongue in there. But you see, like, his tail, like the way I drew it, it's spiky. But again, once you see the art right there, you see it, look, quick, Put down your cereal spoon. I know you're eating while you're watching this, and you're listening to my beautiful voice. But you gotta put down the cereal spoon every once in a while and just take a look at see? Look how shiny he is. I mean, he's not shiny, but like, look how shiny he is. I think Charmeleon and Agumon should have like an adventure series together. I think Charmeleon and Agumon would get along really well. Guess Charmeleon would be all like, wow, and then Agumon would be like, Tai, what are you? Oh, Tai, what is that, Tai? Be like, I don't know, Agumon. I don't watch enough Digimon to do Digimon impressions. But then again, I watch plenty of Pokemon and I still can't do a Gary impression. Because it always just comes out as Sonic. Man, when are they going to put Sonic in Pokemon? Fucking tired of waiting. Come on, Sega, step it up. Come on. Step it up. I guess it bears mentioning, considering their history, that Charmeleon does in fact have a consistent number of fingers. So that's good. That's good on the little guy. I appreciate that I have a consistent number of fingers, so I would assume that he is also pretty proud of the fact that his fingers are always thrice fingers. Trace fingers. I don't know the Spanish word for fingers, I'm sorry. If you know the Spanish word for fingers, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. I learned how to draw fire during this, like Pokemon Fire, because I mean I've seen the bootleg how you can draw you draw like a big orange blob and erase little sections of it to make it look like fire and blur the shit out of it like I do for everything. But yeah, coloring Pokemon Fire. This is actually my biggest concern when I was doing this. I was really worried about getting to the fire and just not being able to do it because I'd never. And then you can see for Charmander even Charmander's came out kind of wonky because that was my first shot at it. And I drew Charmander like a month ago, and then I came back like last night and finished Charmeleon and Charizard, and so I was actually worried. I was kind of peeking back and forth to see to make sure I was being consistent with everything because I was worried about that. I also accidentally drew Charizard's line work or his sketch and half of his line work. I accidentally drew off camera. So, but I mean, I didn't have any redos. This was kind of like a one and done kind of thing, which I'm actually kind of shocked about because it came out really well. Just like with Venusaur, or did I don't remember if I liked Venusaur or Ivysaur's art better, like the ones that I drew. But, I think Charizard came out the best of these three. But again, he's got the most detail on him, so I think it's a little easier to. It's weird how it's kind of easier to draw Pokemon with more detail on them. I think it's that thing where, like with Sonic characters, where their proportions are so specific, and there's so few things to hide stuff behind that if you fuck up a Sonic character's proportions or anything about them really, it's really obvious because there's nothing much going on. I actually think I got the shape of the fire on his tail really pretty decent also, because I mean that's one of those things that's a Pokemon style thing. They always kind of draw fire the same way for the most part, and it's not. I'm not good at organic shapes like that, like organic random shapes. That's why I'm probably gonna draw Galar Zapdos, not for this series, but later, sometime soon. And I want to draw electricity coming off of him, but I don't know how to, I've never drawn lightning before, so I guess I got to learn how to draw lightning. Should probably learn how to draw lightning before I get to Zapdos in this series, or even to Raichu or whatever, But anyway, yeah, Charizard, the big boy himself, the star of everything ever, everyone's favorite Pokemon, Charizard. What is it about Charizard? I'm asking you a question, the viewer. Okay, let me know if you know what it is about Charizard that makes him so popular. No, but Charizard, I mean, obviously it's just from Gen 1, out of the starters, when you're first looking at them, because imagine a kid from the 90s who Pokemon was a new thing, and you're playing, and like your friend has Bulbasaur, your other friend has Squirtle, right? And you got Charmander. And you get to the end of the evolution lines, and your friend's like, "Whoa, I got a big turtle," and then your other friend is like, "Woo, I got this weird, this odd plant. I got this strange frog flower thing. What an interesting, unique Pokemon," says the 4-year-old. It's like, huh, I really appreciate the design of the Raphicella flower. The corpse flower, they call it, because of the stench that comes out of it. Lives in the Amazon rainforest. That's what your 4-year-old friend is saying to you, right? And then you, as a child who has never seen Pokemon before, you evolve your Charmander, and you go, "Holy shit! Is that a fucking dragon? Is that a fucking dragon?" And you just lose your little child mind. Because it's a dragon. Like, look at it. It's a dragon. Can you believe it? But, like, you know, moving away from the first time you ever played Pokemon, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of dragons. A lot of dragons cooler than Charizard. But it's just that he was there first, you know? Like, even before you saw Dragonite. Because I think Dragonite's I don't know if he's a better dragon, but I like him better. Like, I think he is a better designed Pokemon because he's weird with his little antenna and his little spike he's got. And he's fat also. Whereas Charizard's proportions themselves don't really make much sense. Where, like, because, yeah, he's a flying type. He's not a dragon type. But, you know, scientists have proven time and time again that by all laws of aviation, Charizard should not be able to fly. His fat little body would weigh him down. Which I guess Dragonites would too. But Dragonite's also like magic or whatever, so I don't worry about him too much. But yeah, like in terms of being a flying type, Charizard is kind of weird in that aspect. But I really don't know what to pin it on other than just at the time, you know, like. And I mean, he is cool, but he's just like generic cool. I think is why a lot of us are like sick of him. But then, of course, he got popular in Japan, and then so he's in everything. His card, that one fucking Charizard TCG card. I've known people in real life who like proposed to their wives with the Charizard original holo card, whatever. Like, nerds love that shit. So, again, Darth Vader comparison, where he got really popular, and then that popularity just skyrocketed into infinity. And especially with Red being like the main character guys, like I can imagine he got another little boost of popularity in Gen 2 when you go back into the mountain and you fight Red, and doesn't he have a Charizard, right? Doesn't he have all 3 of the starters? I know he does in a Sun and Moon, but I don't remember. I never got to the second half of Silver because I was too stupid as a child, and now I'm too busy to continue playing my copy of Silver. Also, I'd like to point out that I do realize there's yellow underneath Charizard's tail as well, but just in my brain, the angle that his tail was at didn't show that. So the yellow is under there, don't worry. Trust me. I didn't forget about it like I forgot about the little pad on Charmeleon's foot, because in case you didn't notice, I did not do line work for a little pad on Charmeleon's foot, and it wasn't because I wanted to do it without any lines. It's because I straight up forgot it was there. Which happens. This whole line, I remember with Charmander, I was trying to find pictures of underneath his feet because I was like, does he have little... I think he does have little dots under there. And I was trying to find Charizard too, like animations of him kicking and stuff from Pokken or Smash or something. Because I wanted to see, like, does he have the little yellow spots? And I believe all 3 of them have little yellow spots on the bottom of their feet. I believe so. But, Charizard's feet are actually one of the things I like about him, which hold on, everybody, slow down, hold on. Before you hit dislike for me talking about Charizard's feet, alright? While Charizard's design is weird as shit, right? He's got a long neck, he's got a little head with a big nose, and he's got, like, short little arms, which I kind of emphasize his forearms because that's kind of how they look in Pokken, and that's how I like them, actually, because they're kind of like Mewtwo's arms a little bit. That was where I was checking for the consistency in my coloring. I wanted to make sure I was drawing all 3 of these the same. I was like, I didn't forget how I draw, did I? But anyway. Yeah, I kind of like his arms with the emphasized forearms and like the kind of gnarly like fingers. So that was sort of a stylistic choice by me. But I mean, it's still the shape of his arm. It's just a little bit emphasized, just like Charmeleon's arms. But yeah. So long ass neck, kind of whatever size head with a big ass nose, stumpy little arms that are like they're toothpicky little puny arms. You know, for as cool as the Mega Punch is in Pokemon Origins, it's really just like he got these bony little twig arms, bony little twink arms. And then his wings are cool. His wings are always cool. Nothing wrong with his wings. I like the splash of the blue on him. I think it's good for breaking up what otherwise, because if they were yellow, it'd be like, oh god, stop, like. Stop assaulting my eyes with all this orange and yellow and everything. Like, I think it's good that they went with blue for that instead of just making it like his tummy color. But and for his weird design, you know, flying type with the stumpy Blastoise legs, little chicken arms, long neck, small head, big nose, fat belly. And then his tail like isn't really like as thick as it's not as thick and long as I drew it in this. But I think I was channeling my Mega Mewtwo Y, because I think Mega Mewtwo Y is kind of how Mewtwo, wow. Mega Charizard Y, because I feel like Mega Charizard Y is how I would have liked Charizard to just look in general. I know that's like it's too nuts of a design for Gen 1 to have had, but if we could retcon Pokemon and just make Mega Charizard Y Charizard, I think I'd appreciate that. But that's just me. But with all these weird aspects together, for some reason, everybody likes him. Even people who say they don't like him because why does Leon have one? Why doesn't Leon have like a cool Galar Pokemon? Like, but those people all still like Charizard. Don't let them fool you, okay? They're all gonna tell you like, oh, Charizard's lame, but they're all still gonna, you know. If you said, hey, you want this Charizard plushie, they'd be like, yeah. If you said you want the red Nendroid that has the Charizard with it, they'd be like, yeah. What do you mean it's Charizard? I don't know. I think Charizard's an incredibly overrated and, like, perfectly rated Pokemon. But again, I can't really explain it, because, like, yeah, by all accounts, everything about him should be dumb looking. I actually drew his legs a little thicker than they actually are in that artwork. I think they've been trying to scale back his legs a little bit. Because they've had him like in fly, like he doesn't stand in Pokemon. He's always flying in his battle animation these days, and so I think they're trying to make him a little bit more flying type, you know. But the reason I mentioned that I like his feet is because when he stomps. In Smash, like when he does Earthquake in Smash, and when he does certain moves like his little hop kick that he does in Pokken, his 8X, his feet just look so heavy, and so the combination of him flying and then coming down to the ground really hard with his big heavy base that he has, because he's very base heavy. I think it actually kind of works with him, like, you know. Like, I know he flies around a lot, but imagine him using his big wings to hop slightly so that he can just slam into the ground really hard. That's kind of how I envision Charizard in my brain. And I think in that respect he works, if that was how he was designed to work. But I think they just said, we want to make a dragon, and then this was the body type of Pokemon at the time, and so this is what they went with. But all these years later, he's still very popular, so... That's Charizard. I drew him with the white eyes just because I thought it was like menacing looking. I didn't think it'd be very scary to have him like glancing up at you with his big baby blues, but he does have beautiful blue eyes. And then of course there's the female Charizard from the anime that you know is female because she's got the pink ribbon and the eyelashes. Also, I think I kind of killed this fire. I think this fire was kind of nice looking. I was worried that white outline, like the blurring, would be too much, but I think I like it. I think I'm happy with that. I think the whole Charizard came out pretty good. You gotta be able to, as an artist, it's okay to shit on yourself every once in a while when you know you can do better. But, you know, I think I did alright. I can appreciate that. But there are our 3. But yeah, so I mentioned the kind of the positives, kind of things I don't like. And I think that's all I really have to say about them. Let me double check my notes and make sure I don't got nothing else. Oh, I did want to mention, so in the last video with Venusaur, I neglected to mention that the female Venusaur actually has a little extra thing in her flower. It's the female one, so I want to say it's the stamen is the flower, because there's the pistil and the stamen, I think, are the 2 flower things, right? The 2 flower gender things. If you're a botanist and you know, let me know in the comments down below. Bars. What the fuck the flower vagina is called. But if you know what the flower vagina is called, it's that. Venusaur has one of those, right? And apparently, big shout outs to Dr. Lava's Lost Pokemon Twitter account, / I think he has a website. I'm going to be referencing that account a lot in the future for a lot of these, because I don't know, I have a hard time tracking down information, accurate information, but he seems to have that shit together. And there was recently a thing that came out where somebody posted a bunch of beta sprites from Diamond and Pearl, where a lot more Pokemon had gender differences than they do now. And 2 of them that had gender differences were Charmeleon and Charizard, where Charmeleon's, like, the female Charmeleon had a shorter horn, was all that was different. But female Charizard had a single horn instead of the 2 horns. And it looks really weird, and if I can find the sprite, I'll post it here. I didn't manage to save them all. I'll see if I can go find the whole list so that I have them for the future. I mean, it's kind of not really relevant to what we're talking about because they never came out. So, you know. But it's just kind of interesting because I think the reason... When I was looking at it, I think either he mentioned it or I was looking at other artwork of it. But there is art from the TCG, I believe, like way back in the 90s, that had Charizard with a single horn. It's red flying on a Pidgeot away from blue who's riding on a Charizard. And they're flying against a like blurry picture of the Grand Canyon, which I think is hilarious. And blue's Charizard has 1 horn. And I think the reason it's like that is because on the box art for Pokemon Red, from the side profile, like it's kind of side and under looking up shot of Charizard, you can only see one of his 2 horns because the other one's behind his head because of the perspective. And so I think that a couple of artists must have erroneously assumed that he only had 1 horn, which is kind of funny. But then I guess they were going to reference it by making that the female one in Gen 4, but I guess just never got around to it. Because a lot of those sprites were missing a lot of like the shading and some of the quality that the final Gen 4 sprites had. And so I think it was probably just a matter of saving time to make sure everything was, you know, pretty looking. So I'd say it was worth it. Gen 4 is a pretty looking game. Or Diamond and Pearl. I haven't played Platinum yet. Wait, no, I started playing Platinum. But either way, Diamond and Pearl, good looking games. Controversial opinion, Diamond and Pearl, good looking games. Controversial opinion, Charizard, very popular Pokemon. But yeah, I think that's all I got. I think that's all I've got for you guys. As I said previously, future videos will be shorter. The starters are just, I'm talking about 3 Pokemon all at once, and I want to make sure that, you know, I don't want to do one video. You saw me struggle through talking about Charmander. I don't want to do a video just for Charmander, just for Charmeleon, just for Charizard. I figure we'll do them all together because they're a family. And really, it's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it. About Star Wars The Last Jedi. Alright, now that I'm rambling, I'm just going to say thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please, I guess I'm going to just do the YouTuber thing. Just leave a like, leave a comment. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, what I could do better, other than remembering how to speak. And go back and check out the Bulbasaur video. Be safe, be kind, be healthy, stay hydrated. Alright? I'll see you later.